Today I'm going to show you how I made this really nice walnut and maple bowl. I started out by cutting the pieces to length, then I mounted it on the lathe using a sacrificial piece of wood to attach it to the faceplate with. I decided this was going to be a small bowl, as these are my favourite type to turn. I call them a tiny bowl, but you can call them whatever you want. They're fun to turn because they only take about an hour to turn roughly if you're going really slowly, but with experience you could probably knock them out in about 10-15 minutes. I have managed to get my time on them to about 25 minutes if I'm trying to do it quickly, but I prefer to take my time and really enjoy it. So this was the first project I'd used with my new bench grinder, and it made such a difference. I'll leave a link to the video in the description below, and I'll also link it at the top as well. I sanded from 120 grit through to 400 grit to make a really nice finish to the outside, because I was going to apply wood turner's blend to it. Although it was 32 degrees outside, and in the shed it was about 35, so it was incredibly hot to apply the wax, so it did sort of melt quite quickly, which wasn't too much of an issue, but I would suggest applying wax finish in a bit of a cooler temperature. I then started out hollowing the inside of the bowl, using my round scraper to do this. When using two different woods, it's really nice when you hollow it because you get to see the difference in colour. So you get to see the maple come through and then the walnut come through, and I really enjoyed that. As you can see, I was using my depth gauge, which is just a ruler and a steel rule, to ensure I didn't go through the bottom, as I almost did on my poplar bowl, which that video might come out. I don't know whether I'll release it as a video. It might be included in the workshop vlog though. I then sanded from 120 grit through to 400 grit, as I do on every bowl, and I recommend you do the same because it makes a really nice finish. I then added some food safe finish to the inside of the bowl, so that I could use it with food. I then started to apply wood turner's blend to the outside of the bowl. I did this quite slowly as I was trying to work out the best way to use it. So I started at the outside of the bowl and just worked my way up towards the top of the rim. But it was very hot, as I said, and I do recommend doing this in a cooler environment, although it actually left for a really nice finish, and a finish that I'm really happy with. I tried to move the camera a bit closer to give you guys a better angle, but it's made it really shaky, so I apologise for that. When you first apply it, you can see it makes it very shiny, but I prefer a slightly satin finish. I don't like the high gloss of some bowls because I think it can make it look a bit plasticky. And as you can see, the wax is completely melted onto it, so I used a lint-free cloth to buff it onto the piece of wood, and it left for a really nice finish, but as I'm trying to point out here, it's almost like melted into the bowl, so I left it to dry inside for about an hour, and then it had cooled down enough where it actually left a durable finish to the outside of the bowl. I then buffed it off once again because I usually apply 2 coats of wax for an extra durable finish, although you could easily get away with just using 1. I then moved on to parting the bowl from the faceplate. To do this, I simply used my parting tool, which I'm trying to practice with, so I'm holding it at an angle to get a nice cut, and I was using my new bench grinder, but I hadn't yet learned how to properly sharpen this tool, although I have now, so it cuts much better than it does in this video. Although I'm really happy with how this parting tool works. It's a fairly cheap one, but it's pretty good, and I am thinking about getting a thin parting tool, because I think that will make life a lot easier and won't waste quite so much wood. That is the only issue with using a faceplate, is you do waste some wood. I then parted it off using my tenon saw and sanded the bottom on the belt sander. You could just do a bit of sandpapering by hand, but I thought it'd be quicker to use the belt sander. As you can see though, I didn't part it quite close enough to the face of the bowl, so it did leave a bit of imperfection, so I used my normal Bosch sander just to sand it perfectly flat, before applying 1 layer of food safe finish. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Feel free to share it around, and here's a couple of photos of the bowl. Thanks for watching.